Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pseudo Ludo, your favorite video game podcast. Every week, we get together and talk about the video games we've been playing and discuss what's going on in the news. So I'm joined here today by Brian and Nick.
Hello.
Hi.
And we're going to start off and just play a little game called What is on Brian's Desk?
So every week, I pick 3 items, 2 of which are on my desk, 1 is not, and I make these buffoons guess. And I find out who really knows me, you know?
And I'm 5 for 5 right now, I believe.
Allegedly, I think you might have doctored the research.
I heard he switched the samples.
He definitely did switch the samples. That much I am very sure.
You switched the samples.
All right, so this, another themed week. Last week I did a music theme, and this week I'm doing a comic book theme.
Oh, nice.
Tim's going to get this one right.
Don't be so sure about that. Item number 1, Batman Nightfall.
Wait, hold on. Is that the one where Bane breaks Batman's back?
Yes.
Okay.
Item number 2, Kingdom Come.
Ooh.
Item number 3, Watchmen. Go ahead, my children. Go forth.
I'm going to pick Kingdom Come.
I have one question. If the comic is on your Kindle and that's currently on your desk, are you counting that?
No, I would specify that it was a Kindle-based situation.
I'm going to say Watchmen is not on your desk.
Answer's locked in.
Locked in.
It is Batman Nightfall. You're both big wrong. Now, to be clear, I have all 3 of these. And I did not know I had Kingdom Come. I was cleaning my room and I found it. I was like, I guess I bought this. I went back to my Amazon. I bought it at some point.
Oh, but I want to borrow that.
I've never read it. I've read the other 2. I haven't finished Watchmen, but I've seen the show and the movie, and I've read like a fair portion. I've been meaning to get through it, but
I think I got to just hang it up for Brian's desk. Retire.
So it's just me and Murph battling.
Yeah, I'm a career minor leaguer. I can't make it in the big leagues.
Murph, is that a Superman or a Justice League comic? Because it just says
League.
Kingdom Come on it. Okay. It's very short. I could probably read it tonight. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right. What have you guys been playing in this past week since we've last spoken over the internet?
Brian, how about you go first?
A little bit of Animal Crossing, but predominantly Final Fantasy VII Remake, which we will get to as our main topic later on.
Did either of you play Bunny Day on Animal Crossing?
I logged on for like 5 minutes to just get it over with.
Yeah, me too.
I did I got the basket or whatever he gives you, and then I sold all of my eggs.
That was not worth all the pain.
Did you see that if you collected all of the DIY recipes for all the Bunny Day stuff, you only got like a wand? that was like the big prize.
What does it do?
I don't know, but
do you expect
people seemed
from
upset
this?
about that on the interwebs.
What do you expect from Zipper and his tomfoolery?
His Tom Nookery.
I'm just glad he's gone, you know?
Thank God. Go back to hitting rocks and getting actual iron and stone and fishing without fear of what lies beneath the surface.
He can't hurt us anymore.
Yeah, it's like in a horror movie, like at the very end when it's all over, but you're like, those people are still really messed up from everything they've been through. Like, they didn't really win, you know? They escaped the monster, but he's definitely coming back for the sequel anyways. So. And
then there's a scene where it shows something that like hints at a second movie, which will just be Bunny Day next year.
Like a little kid finds an egg on the ground, like one final egg. Thanos will return. Zipper will return.
He buried himself in my front lawn. Did you guys get that event? He just buried himself alive and said, "I'll be back."
Did you guys do the fishing tourney at all?
No, I didn't do that.
I did it once.
I did it a couple times. I don't know. I didn't know how to cash in the points you got, so I did not do that. So I don't know what the deal is. So I might just have wasted 1,500 bells to fish for a little bit.
Nick, what else have you been playing?
I played and finished and beat Doom Eternal, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant here. The Marauders might be the dumbest enemy that has ever come from any video game ever. The whole premise of Doom is to jump and swing and like make combos with your weapons and everything. But then you get this stupid enemy who you can have to stand exactly 5 missions, you hit him three to 5 times, that would be like good enough to kill him. And no, it's at least like 10 times. It's so overkill and it's so annoying. If I wasn't playing on the easiest difficulty, I would have quit the game.
Interesting. Does that come up a lot? Those fights or
not until the last like 2 hours or 5 hours?
So
maybe.
I would go through the whole whatever level it was on. When there was one of those, I would have to run around and kill literally everything else, so that I could focus all my attention on shooting this guy when he's got his green eyes and flinging about. Not fun.
What's your final?
Rate it?
Final rating.
Go. It's an in.
It's not a big in, not an out. Just
that's insane because we're like that's why this rating system, even though I came up with it, is trash.
Yeah, that's the best part about it.
You and me have the same rating, but you're clearly way more negative on it than I am.
Yeah,
it's still an in.
Yeah, people, it's an in. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Still play it.
But it's just funny.
Yeah,
there's no middle.
Middle ground is the hesitation that you can't have that. You need to make a statement. Exactly.
Big out is like impossible though. Like I can't think of many games I would give that to.
No Man's Sky at launch.
I would just give that an out. I wasn't as mad at that game as you guys were because I knew what I was getting into.
Empty Promises.
And the first hour was extremely memorable, and then it just dipped.
Yeah, I played it like quite a bit.
I played it a long time before I returned it.
I literally played it for an hour and deleted it because I bought it on digital like a chump.
Yeah, me too.
Even though I said I knew what I was getting into, I guess I didn't.
Yeah, I think it was just the price. I don't know why we're discussing a 4-year-old game. I think it was a price at $60 was like a little, yeah, this strikes me as more of a $15 game on Steam.
And missing a lot of the features that they said were going to be in there at the start.
Yeah.
Would you have rather that they added Pink Goop and Marauders?
There probably was at somewhere
yeah, maybe.
in the Infinite Universe.
Or maybe, what's his name? Sean Murray? Is that the lead?
Has he come out of hiding yet?
Yeah, no, they've done a lot of updates since then. It still doesn't look like something I'd be interested in playing, but at least they've stuck by it, I guess. I'm sure they made a lot of money off it initially, so it's good that they're kind of using that to fund more updates.
All right, enough about that. I also played, for the first time in 172 days, because it kept track, Fortnite.
Oh, God.
Me, Tim, and our other friend and his cousin played, and having not played that in so long, comparing it to Warzone, it's night and day. It's so much slower. We got in like one fight and finished third place because that was just the end of the game. Right away.
Yeah. We didn't. I don't think we encountered anybody until the final circle, and we were messing around too.
You like it better than Warzone? What do you mean night and day?
Like just in terms of like pace of play, and it's different. It's not that good old season 1 through 4 Fortnite. This is a different breed.
Also, the game seems way more about just messing around. It's like very sandboxy. Like I didn't even know what was going on. Like our other friend was taking us on like all these quests. Like there were NPC items and stuff. Like,
I remember the henchmen's.
Yeah, the henchmen and like to get guns. I don't know. There's just way more things. You're just messing around all the. It's just like it just seems like a sandbox game at this point with combat at the end.
All right, so you're sitting at a table and in front of you is the source code for Fortnite, the source code for Warzone, and a Taco Bell $5 buck box, and the other two things will disappear forever. What are you taking?
What's in the buck box?
Yeah, that's
whatever currently is in that. I don't know.
I don't know what's in there, but
you have to pick. You can't open it.
The problem is there's like at least a 60% chance there's a beefy 5-layer burrito, and I'd rather not have one of those.
When I first started getting into the $5 boxes during senior year, it was the Gordita Crunch, a beefy 5-layer, the little cinnamon thingies, and it had a taco. It was the best box.
I remember that box. I
got so many of those.
The cinnamon twists are fire.
You guys want to do a Taco Bell podcast?
I mean, we literally have no means of getting it. I mean, I guess you could get it delivered, but I don't trust like that.
It's still open drive-through. Mine is at least.
Yeah, but
essential services. Let's go.
That's essential for sure. Let's be clear.
I wouldn't even mind putting up a monthly, seasonal. Whenever they change out the $5 box, whenever they do that, I wouldn't mind putting up a review of each one.
I'm all in on that. Are you serious?
Treat it like a spoiler cast for a game. Like, all right, no spoilers ahead, guys.
And also, all three of us have been playing Rocket League a little bit.
Yeah, we got back into that. That was a lot of fun.
Unk and the Funky Fuse are back.
That's the name of our team. Watch out for us. If you are in the bronze 3 to silver 1 range, you better watch out because we're coming.
That game's a lot of fun.
It's so fun. It's awesome.
It's different because, like in Overwatch, for some reason I was bad, but I still cared about my rank. And in this, I really don't care about the rank at all. And I just, it's all about the camaraderie and who's going to be Unk.
Yeah, it's that minute-to-minute, like, gameplay.
Our team is called Unk and the Funky Fuse, and we decided that whoever has the most points that game is deemed Unk, and the other two are his Funky Fuse nephews. So that's where the name originated from. And also, this past weekend, Easter weekend, I decided to go through my library of games.
Hey, don't you mean Bunny Day weekend?
Yes, Bunny Day weekend. Decided to go through my library of games that Zipper allows me to play. And I looked at myself and I told myself, be realistic. You can get rid of some of these games because you're never going to play them. And they're just taking up space on your hard drive. So obviously the big thing here is PS4. But on my Switch, the games that I kept that I want to beat still are Mario Odyssey, Link's Awakening, Cuphead, and Hollow Knight. On the PC, well, I have a Mac. I really just only have Portal and Portal 2.
You have those?
Yeah, they were like $3 on Steam once. So I do want to play and beat those. And for the PS4, I purged Sekiro.
Yo, what?
You are a failure.
I am a failure. Hesitation is
Jesus
defeat, and I
Christ.
hesitated. The Escapists. I deleted Blackout, finally.
Good.
Or Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I got rid of Bloodborne.
Whoa. Wait, why?
All right, you need to cut this out.
You know, realistically,
Get Bloodborne back, Nick. You gotta
Why
play.
are you
at least one of
afraid?
those. All right, Brian. Next month, our deep dive is Bloodborne.
Yeah, dude, I'm all in.
Yeah, you can get the platinum. That'd be fun, actually.
Oh man, Bloodborne.
I'll help you get the platinum. You can summon me for the bosses. That'll be a lot of fun.
Nick's insight is so low.
I also deleted Celeste.
Dude, why?
Did you beat it?
What are you doing?
I have more games to beat. I have a list of games I want to beat, and I don't need to be wasting time on these other games anymore.
That game's like
Celeste like
150
2 hours?
megabytes.
Yeah, but I don't want to have it there as a time.
You deleted 3 of the best games of the generation.
I deleted Child of Light.
That's fair.
I deleted Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, I deleted that a while ago.
I think I did that too.
I always held that hope that we'd get back in it eventually. But
Yeah, that's weird. I played it for like the first 3 days and I beat it, and then I stopped when they added
I never did
microtransactions.
the single player stuff. I only played online with you guys. And then they put that stupid cap on the online earnings.
Yeah, it was very Activision-y.
And then I also deleted Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together. I played those for about an hour. Well, Don't Starve for about an hour. And
Yeah,
then
Don't Starve was fun.
got rid of that. The games that I kept I want to beat are God of War, the
Good.
BioShock collection. Obviously, the first BioShock is going to be our deep dive this month.
Are you going to restart God of War? I feel like you should at this point.
Yeah, probably. So BioShock. I kept the Crash trilogy. I don't know if
Those
I'll
are
actually
great.
put time into that to beat those over some of these other things. I kept Ni no Kuni, Nier Automata, Outer Wilds, and I still have to do the Horizon DLC.
Dude, no way.
Dude, you
you're
are
still
not.
talking about
You were
that.
saying that
There
in
is
college, bro.
No way. You're still, dude. It's literally an hour. Like it's not long at all. Just sit down. Do it tonight.
Do it.
I'm sick of this.
I'm not. You're not allowed on the cast if you haven't beaten it by next week.
I have been
I
hearing
have
about
to
this
promise.
fucking DLC for years. Literally years. 3 years
Yep,
probably.
literally, it was 2018 at least.
17.
When did the DLC come
That was
out?
the end of 2017, I think.
Oh my
yeah, I
God.
can remember. It's also not that good. It's like okay.
It was just more Horizon. I played a little bit of it, I think, for the.
And then I have a Time Wasters folder, which are games that I'm not going to beat, but we can still play together and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah. I got Madden, Warzone, NHL, Castle Crashers, Super Hot, Surgeon Simulator, I Am Bread, Overwatch, Rocket League, Fortnite, PT, Minecraft, and Stardew Valley in there.
you kept I Am Bread over Celeste. All right, whatever. Pseudo Simulator is hilarious.
But woof. R.I.P. Celeste and Sekiro. Wow.
Sekiro is unreal. You had a whole year. We were offering to pay you to beat that game. I just want that to be known. We were gonna pay him the $60 he spent to buy the game if he beat it within a whole year.
Yes,
And he
1
did.
year.
A whole year, 365 days. All right, Murph. We gotta get out of this. This is a whole.
All right. Thanks for filling us in, Nick. We'll keep checking in with that. And if you don't beat the Horizon DLC by next week, you're off the cast.
Is that a threat or a promise?
Make that
That's a
promise. I
promise.
want to hear it from you.
I don't know.
You don't even think you can beat it in a week?
I know. I would miss you guys too much.
Dude, you could beat it in wait, you're already conceding that you would just not be on this instead of playing a 2-hour like mid-tier DLC campaign.
Tim, you been playing anything else other than the games we've already mentioned?
No, I went back and I'm still getting through Dark Souls 2, going for the platinum. But otherwise, I don't think so. I think that's it. Trying to think mentally, like
As opposed to physically.
How does that make you feel? Spit that.
no, that's it. Yeah, that's all I've been playing. A lot of Dark Souls.
I commend you for having that kind of dedication to be able to know you have to play that game like 3 full times to get the platinum.
Yeah,
I
I don't know why I'm doing it. It wouldn't happen if I didn't just enjoy the actual like minute to minute gameplay. It's a testament to the games. Any other funny stories happen this week, guys? Before we get into the news, any worthwhile?
You know, I'm gonna make a stance here. I'm gonna claim that it's the official stance of the Pseudo Ludo podcast. Is
Okay.
that
I'm out on whatever this is.
you're in? It's official stance. Running backs are not worth what they are valued in the National Football League. Christian McCaffrey just got 4 years, $16 million a year, and he is not 16 times better than anyone drafted in the second round or later. It's a replaceable position that has a short shelf life, and it's not worth that money. Running backs are overvalued. Thank you very much.
Not only do I have no educated opinion on that, if you gave me like multiple choice, I couldn't even tell you what team he was on, and you could probably include fake teams, and I would not know the difference.
All right, guys. Why don't we get into the news?
What do we got, Tim?
So first up, there is going to be no official online E3 2020 event. So as we know, E3 2020 was canceled, and we had yet to find out until now if there would be any kind of online live stream that would be officially sponsored, and it turns out that is not the case. So the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, has confirmed that they're not doing anything, and in doing so, they also announced the E3 2021 dates, which will be June 15th to June 17th. And I don't know about you guys, I don't really have much to say about this. It looks like, just based on what we're seeing, that a lot of the developers aren't even going to want to put anything out in the summer.
I think it'll probably be replaced by like just random publications holding events, because I saw that IGN was doing some sort of like mass coverage throughout the summer. So I wouldn't be surprised if just a bunch of the big trades do some sort of variant of it and have like each website has their own exclusive coverage of different games or whatever in lieu of an actual E3 named event.
Yeah, I wonder when Sony is going to show off, and Xbox are going to show off their consoles, because that would be something that you would see a lot of during E3. Some new games for them, some gameplay, maybe some demos.
They'll probably do it right around the same time.
Yeah, I mean, they won't have a demo component of it, but I wonder if they're just going to push off the announcement until the summer now, because it seems like that's the case.
Yeah, we're getting right down to the wire in terms of announcements, so I wouldn't be surprised if June is when they unveil all the launch titles and prices, and if they're even still launching in the fall.
Yeah, things are really up in the air right now, especially with The Last of Us and Iron Man VR being delayed. We just really, I don't think we
need to bring that back up. Come on, you're just antagonizing me.
We can't predict what Sony's next move is going to be because of these delays. You would think they'd want as much separation as possible between the release of these games and the announcement of their next console, but who knows?
And allegedly Ghost of Tsushima is still on track to release, so I don't know what's going on over there.
Right, that's, yeah.
So is Last of Us 2 just going to be a launch game then?
Probably not. I mean, unless they did like a Breath of the Wild Twilight Princess situation.
Right.
They just did it on both.
As far as I
don't even
know,
like how development-wise, how that would work.
CD Projekt Red has confirmed that Cyberpunk 2077 is going to have a next-gen SKU that is going to be optionally free. They said it's up to Sony whether or not the patch would be released for free for people who own the PS4 version of the game.
That's
so
hilarious.
It looks like,
put it in their court like that.
Yeah, exactly. So if it doesn't happen now, everyone knows exactly who to blame. So it's very likely that will be made free. Next up in the news, in the wake of the Resident Evil 3 launch, Capcom has greenlit a Resident Evil 4 remake. So this has been confirmed by multiple sources. It's not officially announced yet. I'm sure that will be coming. Well, RE3 was actually announced pretty close to its release date. So we actually don't know when we'll see a release. But Brian, what do you think about this? You just beat RE3. Are you excited for RE4? And you've been playing the original Resident Evil 4 also.
Yeah, I am definitely excited for it. And this one, I feel like in general is just a lot more iconic than 3 and probably even to 2. From what I've played of this original, I don't like the groundwork as much as 2 at least. So, but I still think that they could make something really cool out of it. I hope they take a little bit more time because clearly they weren't able to rush one out the door that was to the same quality of 2 with 3. And
Right.
the reports I had seen said it was going to be later, like 2021 or something, or 2022.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
I think Resident Evil 8 is supposed to come in 2021 or something. So it's really confusing. If you don't know like about the series, you'd be really confused. But
that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
This is definitely the most iconic Resident Evil game, at least in my eyes. So it'll be cool to get a remake of it, and Leon's the GOAT.
And if you haven't listened to Brian's review of the Resident Evil 3 remake, you can check that out. We have an episode about that.
Yeah, I think that's the previous episode.
But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Did you play it?
I think it'd be better if they take more time.
I think it'll be good to have RE8 come out as kind of a refresh, since it's been a while since we've had a new release now. 2017, I believe, was when RE7 came out. So it'll be nice, I think, probably just to space it out a little bit, space out these remakes and get some new content in there for fans who want new stories. And
I also saw that Capcom is going to consider making Resident Evil, was it Code Veronica?
Yeah, that's the next one chronologically.
Well, they said they're going to consider making a remake of that depending on fan support.
I would rather see that, because I think 4 is still very, very playable, because that was the first one to switch to the behind the camera shoulder. And I just think the fixed angle stuff is just too dated for people like me that didn't grow up playing them. It's just like, even the remake of the first one, which is like a full remake, they kept the fixed angle stuff, and I just couldn't get through it. Whereas 2 was like one of my favorite games of that year, and obviously 7 is the newest entry, but I would rather them do a ground up remake of Code Veronica in the RE engine than 4, at least now, because I think 4 is like one of those things where it's so highly regarded and so iconic that it'll be really hard to nail it, and they need to nail it. Otherwise the backlog, it's not, if it's okay, people won't stand for that. It'll get review bombed on sites and stuff.
It needs to be as good or as important as it originally was, and that's kind of a hard barrier
kind
to
of
meet.
Expansive with it. And try a lot of like newer things.
All right, next up on the news. This is probably the biggest news that we've covered yet. The DualSense has been announced. This is the controller for the PlayStation 5, and it was released as a blog post on the PlayStation blog, and it is got to be the biggest change since the PlayStation's original release in 1995. It's got to be the biggest controller change there has been, in my mind. What do you guys think of it?
I kind of like it. It grew on me.
Big in.
Maybe I should just describe it, I guess, since this is all audio based. I'm sure most people have seen it by now.
Do you remember that YouTube video from the OG days of YouTube called Sneezing Panda? It's that.
Yeah, it is. That was a great video.
Add that soundbite in, Murph. That'll make me nostalgic.
So it is a two-tone. Bottom half is black and the top is white controller. It has still all of the same features as the DualShock 4. There's some minor changes. The create button has replaced the share button. It seems like they'll essentially still be the same in function. The overall shape is a little bit more rounded and a little bit thicker and fatter, and resembles more of an Xbox controller in my mind. It still has the symmetrical sticks, not the offset sticks, and it now has a built-in microphone, which I'm not a fan of that.
I don't like that at all, but whatever.
There's all kinds of reasons. First of all, there's obviously the privacy concern where every piece of technology now has to have a microphone in it, which, just a little bit unnecessary. Second, I think it's going to drive the cost up needlessly because there's just no need to have a microphone like that. It's going to sound bad, I assume.
You're going to be like clicking around on your buttons and sticks and trying to communicate with your friends.
Anyone who's actually interested in party chatting online and plays online games, they're going to want a headset. They're just going to want
to talk too, isn't it?
Yeah,
or is that an option?
I believe it's push to talk. Hopefully that's automatically so that when you're playing in a lobby, it doesn't just have so many background noises.
Yeah, that's going to be so annoying.
Right, that's going to be awful
to do that. And I just don't like the idea of it being another device.
Yeah, the PS4 came with a really cheap headset. You remember that?
Oh, that little earbud.
Yeah,
I used that for years. I think mine broke just last year.
Yeah, and that serves the same function. Whereas, okay, if I don't want to buy a full price thing, I have at least a way to talk to my friends. But then it doesn't drive the cost up of every subsequent controller because it's a one-time purchase. So now every controller you have to buy this microphone built in.
How much do you think the DualSense will be? $80?
It's going to be like $80. The Switch Pro controller was launched at $80, I believe. Or no, the Joy-Cons did. I don't know about the Pro controller. I think it's going to be at least $80. It's got a lot of features, and I'm personally I've never been a fan of extra features in controllers. I think it's always perfunctory and needless. Number one, the touchpad on the DualShock 4 was just useless and drove the cost up needlessly, I would assume. It was used in, as far as I remember, one game in a actually valuable way, and that was a launch game, or a near launch game in Infamous Second Son.
Oh, every game for the first year.
Yeah, the launch games tried to use it, and it just ended up becoming a select button. It replaced the select button.
And I do like it as a map button. I like that in place of the select.
I like it as a button for sure, but I don't think it needs to have a touch pad.
Well, it's
one of the new features in this controller is haptic feedback, which I'm excited about. That's in the Joy-Cons as HD rumble, and I think that's a fun feature. It also has adaptive triggers, which allows for tension to be increased as you pull down on the trigger in certain parts of the game, which could be interesting in its application, although I see a risk of this just being another underutilized feature, but if it does catch on, it could be very cool. But otherwise, I do like the form factor. I think it's a good-looking controller. I'm not a fan of the color scheme just because the colors scream to me like, ooh, we're the future. This is a futuristic console. But I think it's going to have a lot of good options for customizable colors in the future. So
I didn't like the colors originally, how it's definitely mostly white, or at least the large majority white, with just the underneath, the lower part being black. But it's growing on me, I think, after being forced to see it.
There's definitely going to be all sorts of color variants, and I like the way it looks, but I don't think the color is particularly appealing. But I don't think it's awful. It just kind of sort of looks like a toy. But I do think it's worth noting that it's not called a DualShock. It's this is, I think, indicative that a lot of people were afraid that Sony this generation would get complacent, and I think this is indicative that they're absolutely not doing that. The look of this is radical. It has changed both aesthetically and functionally in a rather significant way, and they've rebranded it as DualSense, and this is the first going forward in a new line of controllers, to the point where when I first saw it, I thought it was just going to be another controller, you know what I mean? That they're some premium thing. But this got me very excited to see what they're doing with their conference and what they're going to be putting forth for launch. These rumors of a Silent Hill reboot that'll be PlayStation exclusive. I think they're going to be taking really big risks to try and get a lot of buzz, which they're already doing, even though this is a really slow drip rollout. The tweet that revealed this is the most liked tweet about video games ever.
Really?
So they've really drummed up a lot of, and even the Mark Cerny thing had almost 1 million views, and it was a fucking computer science lecture. You know what I mean? And the PlayStation 5 subreddit has way more members than the Xbox One. And I mean, that's just a small sample size of who uses Reddit or whatever. But I just think that it's surprising how well this strategy seems to be working for them. Because I want to say that before, the most liked gaming photo on Instagram or something was the release of the PlayStation 5 logo, which isn't even cool.
Really?
So they're really, I mean, they killed Xbox sales wise last gen. Right. But I think that they're not going to do a PS3 this time. They're really going to nail it. I have confidence.
Well, so here's my theory. I think the reason we're seeing all these big changes design-wise is because the PlayStation 4 is one of the best selling consoles of all time. Huge success. And the struggle now is to get people to put that down and pick up a brand new console when it is still so successful and still selling very well, even in its final couple years. So I think they're really trying to visibly show consumers that this is a futuristic console, even with this, what I think is kind of corny color scheme. I think the whole point is to show that this is a big jump, where I feel like on the software side and the actual hardware side, it may not be technologically as big of a leap as previous console generations have been. I think they're trying to compensate for that by showing it in the design sense of a very futuristic looking console. It really looks like one of those clickbait like YouTube videos of a fake controller, that someone made as like what the PS5 will look like or something.
Yeah, it does look like I had to do a double take when I first saw that it was like a real press release. Are you both for sure going to buy a next gen console at launch?
Yeah.
Yes, assuming
no financial trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But just like,
I don't care about financial troubles. I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, no, that's probably true.
I mean, I literally would. If I bought one in high school, I'm sure I could scrape together I honestly don't even know how I afforded PS4 at launch.
Yeah,
I must have been saving for like a year.
I'm also going to get a new 4K TV eventually.
I did that like fall. A year ago. There was a really good sale at like Walmart or something like a year ago, and it was a good purchase. You'd be surprised the difference it makes for some certain games. Red Dead looks stellar.
Yeah, I think I foresee myself getting at launch pretty much no matter what.
Is there any chance you buy Xbox over PlayStation?
No, there's a chance I would eventually. There's a chance eventually I'd get both.
But is there a chance you'd get Xbox first?
Not as, I mean, obviously barring most
likely not.
Like if Mark Cerny comes and punches me in the face and says like, I don't know, but like, yeah, I'm definitely invested in the PS5.
I can't imagine any situation where he would do that to you.
You never know.
Like a very gentle being.
I still am torn between getting because I have thought about getting the next Xbox because I haven't owned one, but I'd also consider just getting a PC and doing the Xbox Game Pass.
That's another thing is, it seems like Xbox is so accessible on PC, you might as well just get a PC.
That just opens up a whole nother library of games that I can play instead of just Xbox stuff.
Right. Yeah, and Xbox would pretty much only be for the exclusives because I would always play third-party games on PlayStation, most likely.
There were not many worthwhile exclusives for Xbox last gen anyways.
Right. And as time goes on, they're definitely, all the companies are emphasizing reasons to stick with a platform, especially with digital ownership, backwards compatibility, achievements. So those are all reasons to make it harder than ever, in my mind, to switch now. Now that I have a huge digital library of PS4 games, obviously I'd want a console that can play all of those. So I pretty much am definitely getting a PS5. All right, and now we're going to get into our main topic for the episode. Nick had to go somewhere, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to interview Brian about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which he just played. Did you beat it, Brian?
No, not. I'm about halfway through the story, 10-ish hours in. But no, I've been doing a lot of the side quests and stuff too, and yeah, I haven't had as much time to play it as I would have thought. Been doing other things.
So let's set the stage here a little bit. Final Fantasy VII is a 1997 RPG developed by Square, and it was released on the original PlayStation. And it is widely held to be one of the greatest games of all time. I have not beaten it. I played a little bit of the original, and I've played the demo, but I have not gotten to the remake yet. I do plan to play it soon. But Brian, what were your overall impressions of the game?
So first, I just want to say the only Final Fantasy game that I had played at length is 15 before this. So I don't have a base nostalgia for the series or for 7. I had played 7 briefly when I was much younger, but I never beat it, and it was never like a pillar in my, catalog growing up. But I really, really, really like this game. I think it's pretty clear that it's a labor of love all the way across. It's a full suite aesthetically of just the music, the visuals, the characters, the story, and the gameplay is all just really, it feels like a complete package. And it's able to kind of both be very innovative and modern in the way that it expands on systems that were in the original game and how it revitalizes the combat and stuff, while also having a feeling of like an older game. Like I felt like nostalgic playing it, even though I hadn't really played any of those games besides the Kingdom Hearts games when I was little. So it felt like a weird feeling that I felt like I was playing an older game, but
that's kind of how I felt playing the RE2 remake, where you could feel that kind of retro design philosophy ingrained in the remade game. You felt nostalgic for something, at least that I hadn't played. But yeah, no, it sounds very exciting. Obviously, this is one of the most infamous remakes probably of all time. It was announced originally in 2015 at the Sony E3 conference, and it has gone through a lot of development problems, and it seems like it came out on the other side looking pretty good, which isn't usually the case when you hear of something that's been in development hell for a few years.
There are some weird things. It's a lot more narrow in terms of exploration and stuff like that. There's definitely a lot of sections where you're just kind of walking down like a straight path while whether there's dialogue or you're just going to the next area or whatever, which kind of feels a little odd. But for the most part, it's really just very exciting and fun and charming. A lot of like the characters are all very endearing, and as you play longer, their interplay and their development is really strong. And I'm not, I haven't completed it, like I said, but the story so far is really interesting. There's a lot of seeds that are planted for threads that I'm sure will be teased out as the rest of the game continues, that I'm very interested in seeing how they're resolved.
And not to mention the sequels.
Very goofy it's very goofy in anime, but there is a level of like maturity, I guess, to it, that they're able to strike a balance of that cheesiness and like an actual sweet story so far. And I do have to say, it's insane that this was the story of a game in the 90s, that you're in like a terrorist group trying to fight climate change. It's very radical.
Yeah,
but it's cool, definitely. And the world is really great. Like the sense of scale and scope of like, you'll just be in a small little town with all these flowers and whatever, and you look up and there's just this hulking like cyberpunk reactor in the sky, like stuff like that. The world is really interesting, that I wish it was a little more expansive, that you could just kind of run off and explore. But that's not how it's built. It's much more linear in terms of the design of levels, and it is chapter based. It's not an open world. But I like this so much more than 15, which, as I understand, is not a very highly regarded Final Fantasy game anyways.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you about was, so you've played Final Fantasy 15 and you've played this remake now. I just wanted to know, what Final Fantasy identity do you see in these games? Because that's one thing I've always questioned. I've had some very brief experience with a few Final Fantasy games, and I don't really see, other than chocobos and the similar names for items and stuff, I don't see many connective tissues between these games and what makes it a series. Like, what makes this Final Fantasy VII as opposed to just another RPG made by Square Enix? You know what I'm saying? Did you see any kind of similarities between the games, or common themes, like common settings, that kind of?
I think they aesthetically have similarities in the way that the characters look. But I mean, as far as I know, 15 is one of the biggest departures of the whole series, so I don't really know if it's the best game to compare it to.
Yeah.
And 15 definitely felt a lot less sure of itself, of what it was trying to be, because it was more open, but then also like had a lot of really weird like JRPG type of tendencies that made it also not feel open. And the combat was way more button mashy, which this has that. But
yeah, how do you like the combat?
I love it. I think they're able to capture the essence and spirit of a turn-based encounter while also having it be more cinematic and action-packed. And I really like the way, I haven't done any of the classic mode yet, which is just the regular turn-based, but the blend of the actual fighting with a party system and with a pseudo turn-based situation where you actually are bringing up menus within the action-oriented combat. I just think it's a lot of fun, and it shares a similar pace to a turn-based encounter, and the strategy of using certain items and switching between characters, like somebody is more ranged or somebody has a certain, like, you get all these different spells that you can assign called materia.
Materia. Okay.
Yeah. That you can assign to certain characters, and there's just a lot of depth in the way that you handle each encounter. And I think it's only going to get deeper as the game goes on, because it still sort of seems to be finding its footing. But like I mentioned, I have been doing a lot of the side quests, which I think is very indicative of how much I'm enjoying a game.
Yeah, that is a good sign.
If I even bother. And the side quests so far seem to be pretty simple and generic, but the fact that I just kind of want to not advance the main story is usually a very good sign. And it's just charming, like the whole world and the music and everything about it. It really does just feel classic, but at the same time, it's not just pandering to what the game used to be. This is only a remake of the first few hours, but it's this big 40-hour experience or whatever. So it's really cool to see them, like how I was complaining about it on the Modern Warfare episode, how games don't take big enough swings anymore and they're reliant on what already worked in the past and whatever. This is obviously positioned as this remake of this classic game, but I really do think it's pretty risky in the way that it's taking something everybody loves and just blowing it up and making it bigger and just changing stuff. And I think this will end up being relatively influential within the genre. And I wouldn't be surprised if more JRPGs and more RPGs take this sort of blended combat moving forward. I'm not sure what the general consensus within the community is, though. That'd be interesting to see, because I really love it, though.
Yeah. Now, one obviously essential part of any JRPG is the party system and the cast of characters that you play as. So what do you think of all the characters? Why don't you just give us a rundown of who you've been using? What is it? Is it 3 people per battle? Is that the most you can take? Or
I don't really know. So far, that's the thing that I'm interested to see how the game kind of opens up, because so far it's been pretty chapter based, like I said.
Okay.
And who you don't have like a party. So like as of now, you just kind of, your party consists of who is with you in the mission, and you aren't able to switch that out. The way that you're able to get a strategy is by arranging materia and items and stuff like that, upgrading certain weapons or whatever. So that is something I was kind of surprised by, but I don't know if that's going to change. Like, based on where I am in the story, I think it's going to get to a point where everybody is back in one place and you are able to take and pick certain people. Right. But so far, I've obviously Cloud Strife is the main character that you play as. And then in the party, I've had Barrett and Tifa and Aerith. And I think that's it.
Okay.
But there's like been other people that are in the game that you haven't been able to use in your party. So I'm not sure what the depth, like how far that goes, if every character in Avalanche is available to use, or if some of them are just for the story.
Right.
But I do like the way each character kind of has their own use. You know, Aerith and Barrett are more ranged, and Aerith is better with magic. And then Tifa is up close. That's like her strong suit. And then Cloud is like a more balanced. And it just, there's a very good pace of play in the battles where you'll be up close and personal with Cloud, but then, you know, like each character is building up a meter to use different attacks and to be able to use items and stuff. So say you're with Cloud and you need to build up that meter, but you're not quite yet, and you're up close and personal fighting somebody else. But Tifa has that meter up, so you can switch to her and then use a spell or use an attack or use the items or whatever. Right. And there's also summoning features where you can summon these big monsters, and that's another meter. So there's just like a lot of dynamic stuff going on.
Do you find it too busy, the combat? Is it too... Because when I played the demo, there was certainly a lot going on, but I'd imagine maybe that gets better as you get more used to it.
I don't think so. I think it's very, very satisfying, and there's just enough range. Like, you can just basically not touch the menus. You can just run around and just strike everybody, more or less. At least now. I don't know how much that changes. But, I mean, I don't do that, so I like how there's all these options, because it keeps it feeling fresh. Where, like, recently Nier, which recently that I've played, Nier's a few years old now, but I really, really like that game, and I think the combat's fun, but it can get kind of redundant because it's mostly just button mashing and shooting, and the way that game is able to break it up is by having it switch perspectives to like a twin stick shooter and stuff like that.
Right.
Where this obviously isn't doing that, and I think having that wide variety of options within the combat itself allows the player to kind of use it on their own discretion and add variety themselves as they see fit. And
you and I are both into collecting trophies. Have you taken a look at what are the requirements to get to platinum? Is there a difficulty requirement, that kind of thing? Yeah, you have to beat the game on hard, which it seems from what I've understood that, so once you beat you can't play it on hard to begin with. Hard is basically the new game plus, like you keep all your items, and it's a harder difficulty. And I want to say you can't heal in battle or something. It sounds hard. Okay. And but it seems like everything is able to be done through chapter select, from what I've understood. Oh, so like you can, when you beat the game, it opens up a chapter select. So if you're missing a side quest or collectible or whatever, I think, I could be wrong,
But I think that's what I think you can do it that way, which would make it a lot more approachable than having to replay the entire thing. And I'm not paying attention to trophy guides for collectibles and stuff. I feel like that can mar the experience. So I
try not to do that for new releases. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really loving it so far. I mean, there's still a lot of time for me to change my opinion, but I feel as it goes further and further, I'm enjoying it more and more. Like the section I played last night, I really, really loved. And I think that there's a pretty good variety within the chapter to chapter momentum, which at first I was sort of worried about because the beginning is the demo. The first chapter is the demo, which obviously is very, very action heavy, heisty, exciting cinematic stuff going on. But then it kind of slows down and there's a lot of character stuff. There's a lot of walking around and I was kind of taken aback having that happen. But then as you play further and further, it is a nice balance of like a crazy action set piece, RPG combat. Some of the stuff is more action oriented as well. There are like set pieces and there's some things I didn't expect, I'll put it that way, gameplay wise. But then after you go on these missions or whatever, when you come back or just on a chapter to chapter basis, it will slow down. It will have these more character oriented moments, and it really does give it time to breathe. And I found that helps the pacing a lot, at least in my opinion. And it also gives characters opportunities to become more developed, more likable, and you get to see the interplay and stuff, a little bit better. And also the side quests are kind of in that vein. Most of the side quests, at least where I'm at, are very low stakes. And so it kind of just allows you to not only gain XP and stuff like that, which you obviously need to do, but also puts you in these places where you can see the relationships with characters grow and their banter and all that.
Cool. So what's your overall what is your overall take on the game? Are you big in? Is it too early to say?
I feel like it's too early to say, but I would say big in now.
Okay, really right now you're big in.
It's definitely on the tier of Animal Crossing for me right now, of things that will be at the top of my list at the end of the year. That being said, there's a lot to go. And I feel with these types of RPG experiences, sometimes they get very, very big towards the end. And I don't always feel that big is better. Like with Nier, I think a lot of the battles towards the end of that game, they just kind of go on forever. And they're not particularly hard, but it starts to feel a little repetitive.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to go. There's only more or less the midway point. I feel like so far the pace has been 1 hour per chapter, but I don't know if that'll hold. So we'll see. But yeah, overall, it's a big recommend for me. And I think your mileage may vary based on how much you like the genre and based on how much nostalgia you have for this entry of the series in general.
Right.
I think that'll affect how much you really love it. But I think it's pretty objectively a very, very fun and good game.
Graphics look beautiful. Music sounded really good on the demo. I'm really excited to play it.
The music is excellent.
Great. I'm excited to play. I'm going to try and play the original one first, at least the Midgard part, just to kind of have something to compare it to and see where they made the changes. I know they might have been making some story changes and stuff like that to keep old fans on their toes, so I'm kind of interested in seeing how they approach that. Especially this game has one of the, some of the most famous plot beats in this in video games, so I'm excited to see where they take that.
Yeah, I really am curious to see where it's going to end as well.
Right, that'll be another thing.
I think I have an idea, but we'll see.
Okay.
No, this game specifically, and obviously the subsequent ones will fill it all out. But
yeah, hopefully those come out soon. If it's really good, I don't want to be waiting years to play the next installment.
No, it'll definitely be years, at least 2, if not 5.
Yeah. Well, so that was a discussion of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you can, as always, follow us on Twitter at Pseudo Ludo Cast, and write in and let us know what you think of the show. And be sure to like us, rate us on your podcast service, all that stuff. All right, but we're going to head out now. Hopefully by next week I'll have played some Final Fantasy and we can continue this discussion.
I hope so.
All right. Brian, you take care of yourself.
Right, you too. See you around.
Bye.
Still here? It's over. Go home. Go.